After a mystery of immense proportions is revealed, Clara and Gabriel are closer to discovering the hidden secret that could change their lives forever. But with new enemies emerging and an uncertain fate, they must face challenges they never imagined. What will lie ahead for the couple? Don't miss this episode, where everything starts to turn into a race against time. Tensions have never been higher. Prepare for the unexpected. Dawn arrived at the coastal village, bringing with it an air of deceptive tranquility. Clara and Gabriel, now invigorated by the brief pause, were ready to resume the search. The small room where they had rested seemed very far from the reality that awaited them. Gabriel, already standing, watched the map as if he could extract from it answers that were not yet clear. He felt the weight of responsibility increase with each step they took. Clara, in turn, was more concerned with the risks that seemed to grow exponentially. She knew there was no turning back, but she couldn't help but question whether they were prepared for what was to come. Watching Gabriel in silence, she realized that he was more focused than ever, but he also carried a tension that she couldn't hide. Before leaving, they decided to talk again with the fisherman who had helped them. The man, though reticent, offered them some information about the location marked on the map. That place, I've heard stories. It's an old abandoned fortress, but it's said there's something strange about it. People who venture there rarely come back. Gabriel thanked him, but his determination did not diminish. The journey to the fortress was dangerous. They needed to navigate treacherous waters and then walk through mountainous terrain. During the route, silence prevailed among them, interrupted only by brief exchanges of glances and comments on the map. Clara couldn't help but notice how the surrounding scenery seemed to reflect her feelings. Beautiful, but full of shadows that suggested imminent danger. As they approached the shore where they were to land, they began to feel that they were being watched. Gabriel, always alert, tried to reassure Clara, but he himself could not ignore the uncomfortable feeling. When they finally reached the landing point, they decided to be extremely cautious. The marks on the map indicated that they were on the right track, but the place seemed more desolate than any they had ever visited. The hike up the mountain was strenuous. Each step seemed more difficult than the last, and Clara began to doubt that they would be able to reach their destination before nightfall. Gabriel, however, continued tirelessly, as if an invisible force was guiding him. At the top of the mountain, they saw the fortress. It was an imposing building, although clearly abandoned and in ruins. Something about the structure conveyed a sense of power, as if the place was waiting for them. Before they got closer, they decided to take a break to plan their next steps. Gabriel took the map once again, pointing to a side entrance that seemed to be less visible. If someone is following us, we need to be quick and discreet. We go in, take what we need, and leave. Clara, despite her tiredness, agreed, but something in her eyes showed that she knew it would be easier said than done. As soon as they began to descend towards the fortress, a distant sound made them stop. It was the sound of footsteps, many footsteps, echoing between the mountains. Gabriel held Clara's hand and pulled her to a nearby hiding place. The tension was palpable. The two were in absolute silence, trying to understand what was happening. The fortress was more alive than it seemed at first glance. Small lights began to appear on broken windows, and the sound of voices could be heard in the distance. What should have been an abandoned place was clearly not so empty after all. Did you like what you have seen so far? Be sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on anything from this exciting journey. Leave your like if you're looking forward to what's next, and tell us in the comments, what do you think will happen to Clara and Gabriel? Let's continue together in this adventure. The atmosphere around the fortress was charged. Clara and Gabriel, still hidden in the shadows, watched the movement from a distance, trying to decipher what was happening. The sound of footsteps echoed, but they couldn't identify how many people were there or what was really going on. The feeling of being watched, which had bothered them during the journey, intensified. "There's something wrong here," Clara muttered, her eyes fixed on the entrance to the fortress. Gabriel, who had seen enough of places like this to recognize signs of a hostile presence, gestured for her to be silent. "We need to wait until we have more information," he whispered. "But we have to get in soon. Time is against us." Fear was in the air, but their determination was even stronger. There was no turning back. After a pause, they decided to move forward, being careful not to be seen. The side entrance to the fortress, which had previously seemed like a safe path, now seemed to be the only viable option. Approaching, Gabriel signaled for Clara to stay behind him, which she did immediately. His mind was filled with doubts, but the only thing that mattered was moving forward. As they walked, Clara began to notice something peculiar. Small symbols engraved on the stones, almost like ancient writing. She tried to concentrate, but the noises around her didn't help. A growing buzz took over the room, and she didn't know if it was the result of tension or something real. Suddenly, Clara stopped and looked at Gabriel, his hand holding her arm tightly. "Listen, didn't you hear that?" Gabriel, with attentive eyes, said quietly, "Stay calm. It could be just the wind or something more." However, what seemed to be a simple echo was quickly replaced by a clear and unmistakable sound, the sound of a door opening. They froze, their breathing heavy and silent. Something was happening inside the fortress. Who else could be there? They knew they couldn't waste any more time. With courage mingled with fear, they began to move faster, not realizing how close they were to what could be the biggest secret of their lives. The entrance was before them now, and what had once seemed like a simple collapsed structure turned out to be much more imposing than they had imagined. Each step they climbed was like a metaphor for the weight of their choices. When they reached the door, Gabriel signaled to Clara to keep quiet. He pushed the door gently open, revealing a large room, lit only by torches that seemed too old to still be lit. In the center of the room, there was a stone table, covered with candles, and a series of objects that seemed to belong to another era. Gabriel approached cautiously, while Clara watched the shadows dancing on the walls. There was something profoundly strange in the air. It was as if the place was alive, as if it was waiting for their arrival. "Do you see that?" Clara asked, her voice trembling but full of curiosity. She pointed to a small book that was on the table. The book appeared to be made of a strange material, perhaps aged leather, but its appearance was unsettling, as if it had been made for something other than human. Gabriel reached out and picked up the book. The sensation he had when he touched him was instantaneous, a shock, as if something from another dimension was communicating with him. He opened a book carefully, but what he found didn't make sense. The pages were filled with symbols he couldn't identify, and some of them were covered in a dark liquid that seemed to have a peculiar glow. Before they could react, the sound of rapid footsteps echoed through the room. Someone was approaching, and it didn't seem like a good idea to wait to see who it was. Gabriel and Clara looked at each other, a single thought running through their minds. Danger was closer than they imagined. The sound of footsteps grew louder and louder, and the surrounding environment seemed to close in, as if the fortress itself was trying to trap them inside. Clara felt a chill run down her spine. The book in Gabriel's hands felt heavy, and she knew something was about to happen, something that would change everything. The two positioned themselves strategically, trying to hide in the shadows of the dark room. Gabriel clutched the book to his chest, as if it were the only thing that would keep them safe. "We need to get out of here now," he whispered, the urgency in his crystal-clear voice. But Clara hesitated, looking at the table, the book, and the mysterious objects around. "Gabriel, what is this? What are we really looking for?" She knew there was no turning back, but a part of her still didn't understand the magnitude of what was about to happen. Before Gabriel could answer, the door to the room opened with a bang, and a tall man wearing a dark cloak entered. His eyes were piercing, almost supernatural, and he didn't seem surprised to see them there. On the contrary, there was something in his gaze that indicated that he already knew they would be. Clara felt a wave of fear, but she tried to remain calm, as she had learned throughout her life of uncertainty. "I knew you would come," the man said in a deep, almost hypnotic voice. "But what I didn't know is that they would arrive so soon." He stepped forward, and the room seemed to shrink in size as his presence became more intense. "If they want to know the truth, they will have to fight for it. Nothing is given for free." Gabriel, always quick in his actions, positioned himself in front of Clara, protecting her. "Who are you? What's going on here?" The tension was palpable, and Clara could feel her heart beating wildly. The man smiled enigmatically, as if he knew more than he should. "I'm the key to your destinies, Gabriel," he said, his tone suggesting something much darker than he wanted to let on. "And you, Clara, have already been marked. There's no escaping it." What he said made Clara's blood run cold. "Marked," she repeated, the word echoing in her mind. The man nodded with a cold smile. "Yes, you are part of something much bigger, and now there is no going back." Gabriel clenched his fists, ready to face any threat that arose. "What do you want from us?" he asked, trying to stay calm, but sensing that the situation was about to spiral out of control. The man looked at the book in Gabriel's hands. "This book contains the secret you are looking for, but I guarantee that it will not be easy. There's a price to pay for every bit of truth you reveal." Clara, who had heard of ancient legends and myths, began to understand that what they were facing was much more than a simple mystery. There was something ancient and dangerous in what they were involved in, and now they could no longer move away. She felt an impulse to grab the book, but she knew it wouldn't solve anything. "Let's go," she whispered to Gabriel. "We need to get out of here before it's too late." The man smiled, as if he already knew they wouldn't leave so easily. "Do you think you can escape the truth? The truth will always find them, wherever they are." In one swift motion, he raised his hand, and suddenly the room became even darker. Clara tried to resist, but an invisible force pushed her back, causing her to fall to the ground. Gabriel tried to hold her, but he too was knocked down by the same force. "This is just the beginning," the man said, his voice echoing off the walls of the fortress. "Your journey is just beginning, and not everyone will have a chance to see the ending." When the darkness finally cleared, Clara and Gabriel found themselves alone in the middle of the room, not knowing what would happen next. What did the man mean by that? What did they have to face now? After the confrontation with the mysterious man, Clara and Gabriel found themselves in an even more uncertain situation. The walls of the fortress seemed to close in on them, and the silence that surrounded them was almost unbearable. But deep down, something was changing between them. What once seemed to be a simple meeting was now something much bigger, with deeper meanings. Clara felt a growing connection with Gabriel, but she also knew that the questions still had no answer. What did he mean by "there is no escape"? "We're involved in something we don't even understand yet," Clara said, her voice low, full of uncertainty. Gabriel looked her in the eyes, and for the first time, he didn't know if the words would be enough to convey what he felt. "I don't understand either, Clara," he replied, his voice charged with frustration. "But I know that somehow it connects us. We can't go back now." With the book still in his hands, Gabriel looked at Clara, trying to find a way to make sense of those words and what was happening. The weight of the book was more than physical. He felt that there was something in him, something that linked them to the mysterious man and the fortress, something they needed to understand before it was too late. "We're going to have to trust each other, Clara," Gabriel said, with a firmness that surprised them both. Clara nodded, her gaze softening. They were closer now than ever, united not only by the mysteries that surrounded them, but by the growing trust that passed between them. Clara took a deep breath and decided to follow what she felt. "Yes, we are in this together. Let's find out what's going on, Gabriel. It doesn't matter what comes next." She stepped forward without hesitation, as if the future was something she now accepted. The certainty of her mission, despite the uncertainty of what was to come, was what moved her. They advanced across the room toward a door that seemed to open invisibly, as if waiting for them. The mystery only increased. As they walked through the door, they were enveloped by a soft light emanating from the bottom of a dark corridor. The light guided them, but there was no rational explanation for what they were seeing. It was as if they were being led by something much greater than their own wills. "Something is happening. Something beyond us," said Clara, still with the feeling that it all seemed to be predestined. Gabriel looked at her with the same feeling. "I know," he replied, and though his voice conveyed no fear, there was an understanding that fate was about to be revealed. The corridor led them to a large room, and what they saw stopped them in their tracks. It was as if everything around them had been designed to challenge them, to test them in a way they didn't even imagine possible. As the sound of their footsteps echoed through the space, they realized they were not alone. They heard whispers that seemed to come from all directions, as if the room itself were alive, full of secrets. Fear arose again, but this time Clara did not hesitate. She held Gabriel's hand tighter, as if his closeness was the only thing that kept her going. "What's going on here, Gabriel?" she asked, her voice trembling. But he also had no answer. He knew they were closer to finding the truth, but the truth, as much as it attracted them, also frightened them. Before they could take another step, a figure appeared before them. It was the mysterious man. But now, he was no longer alone. There were other shadowy figures at his side, as if waiting for something. Clara and Gabriel looked at each other, feeling the tension increase. "Now you are ready for the real test," said the man, his voice deep and charged with a tone of anticipation. "But remember, there is no way back. What is revealed here will change their lives forever." Clara looked at Gabriel, and deep in his eyes, she saw something that made her feel a surge of clarity. It was the certainty that, whatever it was, would unite them even more. They had started this journey together, and now, more than ever, they needed to stick together. "We're ready," Gabriel said, his voice firm, but not without a hint of apprehension. Clara nodded, and together they took the step that would take them to the next level of this mysterious journey. The environment around Clara and Gabriel was saturated with palpable tension. The mysterious man and the shadowy figures around him waited in silence, as if time had stopped. Clara felt her heart beating faster, and Gabriel, next to her, also seemed tense, as if he sensed that the truth they were seeking was about to be revealed. The room, though grandiose, now looked claustrophobic. "What you are about to discover," the man began to speak, his voice deep and reverberating, "is not something simple to comprehend, but it's beyond anything they've ever known. And believe me, there is no going back." Clara swallowed, feeling a mixture of fear and curiosity. She looked at Gabriel, who was fixated on the man in front of her. "We can't go back, Gabriel," she murmured, as if convincing herself of something she already knew in her heart. He just nodded, keeping his eyes fixed on the man. The man stepped forward, his eyes shining brightly in the dim light. "The key to understanding everything that is happening is with the two of you. You were chosen." He reached out, and suddenly a soft glow emanated from his palm, creating a light that enveloped them as if it were a portal. Clara took a step back, her body instinctively pulling away from the light, but Gabriel held her tight by the hand. He knew this moment was crucial. "Chosen for what?" Gabriel asked, his voice firm, but with a touch of uncertainty. "Everyone's future depends on you," the man replied, his words weighing in the air as if they carried an incalculable destiny. "The book, the fortress, everything is interconnected. You have been prepared for this, although you do not know how. What lies ahead cannot be changed. What remains is how you will decide to deal with what will be revealed." The room lit up even more, and Clara felt a strange sense of calm begin to wash over her. She looked at Gabriel, who was equally tense, but there was also something in his eyes that seemed more decided than before. They were ready, or at least they believed they were. The man pointed to a table in front of them. Where was the old book they had found earlier? "The book contains everything you need to know. It is not enough just to read it. You need to understand the messages he conveys. They are coded in ways that cannot be unraveled with simple logic. You'll need to trust each other to decipher the path. Clara took a deep breath and took a step towards the table. She was aware that the key to everything was there, but how would she and Gabriel be able to understand this mysterious book? Fear mixed with determination, but she knew there was no choice. She needed to understand. Gabriel approached her, his gaze fixed on the book. "Let's do this together," he said, the confidence in his voice being an anchor for both of them. Clara looked at him, and for the first time, she felt that despite all the mysteries and challenges, there was something fundamental that connected them, something stronger than fear or doubt. She nodded, and together they picked up the book. As soon as their hands touched the aged paper, a feeling of energy ran through their bodies. The light around them began to shine even more brightly, and for a moment, Clara felt enveloped by a force greater than she had ever imagined. It was as if destiny itself was aligning, as if everyone's future was being decided there. "Read it," the man said, with a seriousness that indicated that this moment was unique. "But remember, nothing will be the same as before. What comes now will forever change their lives and those of everyone around them." The feeling of being about to cross a threshold, of being on the edge of something great and unknown, made Clara feel a shiver all over her body. She looked once more at Gabriel, feeling the intensity of her connection with him. "We're ready," Clara said, with more certainty than she had ever felt. "Yes," Gabriel replied, his voice full of determination. "Together." And with that, they began to read the book, immersing themselves in the mystery that awaited them. The room they were in seemed to disappear around them, and the truth was about to be revealed, not only about the book, but about their fate and the entire world. What they would discover would change everything, and from that moment on, there was no turning back. Click on like, subscribe to the channel, and share your theories in the comments. The next episode will bring more answers and challenges to Clara and Gabriel. Don't miss it.